Hi, everyone. This is Sonia from the Tree of Knowledge, and I'm with wonderful, beautiful Gary from Alternative Interactions, who I love talking to. Let me stress how much I love talking to you. When we get together, we really have some fascinating conversation. And there's a lot of times when we're supposed to be filming, we end up talking for hours before we don't film. So this time we're going to actually film what we're talking about. Today we're going to be talking about doppelgangers, clones, and how this has impacted humanity and why this has impacted humanity. So on that note, I guess, Gary, would you like to start us off?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much, Sonia. And yes, Sonia and I, we were meant to have recorded this last week actually, and we were chatting for so long that we ran out of time. So it's like, oh my God. Um, so we're talking today about doppelgangers and how the fundamentally how the matrix works and affects us and builds into us. And doppelgangers is a really interesting subject because obviously we have people that look like other people identically. Um, and so I want to start this off with something that everyone can just Google very easily. And it's a guy called William West, or two guys called William West actually. And I'm just going to get up on my phone so I get this right with the dates. That's it. So there was two William Wests in Leavenworth Prison in 1903. And both these gentlemen have the first name and the second name that's identical, and they both look identical. So you can get this up on your phones and do this search. It's crazy. They both look identical, these two gentlemen, and it's very interesting that the only way that they could eventually tell them apart was by their fingerprints.
Mhm.
And so in 1903, fingerprints were formally brought in as forms of identification for such official use because of doppelgangers. And so it's obviously become an issue by 1903. Now, before then, it doesn't seem to have been so much of an issue. But Sonia and I are going to go into that because really interesting, isn't it, Sonia?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So before we started this filming, I was talking to Sonia about the Fibonacci sequence and the crystalline code. Now, some of this we'll go back onto. This is just a very brief overview, and then we'll get our chat going again. So the crystalline code or Christ code, but it's a K, not a C, is our base program of this realm. Sonia and I both agree that we're in an AI holographic toroidal field consciousness realm that is an artificial reality, giving us the impression of reality, isn't it, Sonia?
Absolutely. It's just a construct.
Yeah, yeah. The Matrix, fundamentally the Matrix. Now we had a malware program come in probably 7,000 years ago. Certainly has been in before, but we had it come in big style
Mhm.
around sort of 4,000 BC, just after. And this malware system that came in caused chaos within this realm. And what it's done, it's fed on this realm like a parasite.
Mhm.
Now, the original creational energy is the crystalline code, and that is a 12 grid system of positive and negative charged um, ions, protons, photons. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's definitely negatively and positively charged. You get this beautiful flow. And this is what we see in nature in snail shells and everything like that. And I've got a little slideshow from a previous show I did before, but some of the images are we will go back to this. We then have this crystalline code is taken over, and often Chris code is called Gaia, Mother Gaia,
Mhm.
and we have the Fibonacci sequence come in, um, which then takes over this system.
Mhm.
And we go from six-fingered people to five-fingered people once this system fully takes over. Now, the Fibonacci sequence is known as the Daisy of Death, and it's Metatron's cube, it's the Merkaba, and it's the Kabbalah. It's all, everything is all connected into this, and it's also the Star of David or the Star of Rembrandt, which goes into lots of stuff that I've looked at previously. Now, this overlay is where we are today, and it's what we're currently fighting today to escape from. But Sonia and I in our chat have come up with some really interesting stuff about going back a little bit closer to history, not thousands of years away, but hundreds of years ago, with the cloning techniques, with the world fairs, orphan trains, Tartaria, and resets that cause certain things to happen. And we feel that it's really interesting if we share this information and knowledge with you so that you can kind of get an overview of this really complex, um, and it is complex, really,
Yes.
system of the takeover of where we are today. So, have you got anything to add to that, Sonia?
Not too much, but I will say this. Everything is connected. As far-fetched as that sounds, every single step is connected to the next step. Even when you're thinking of Tartaria, or you're thinking of doppelgangers, or you're thinking of ghosts in the genes. Here's the thing, it's all connected, even if it seems like there's no connections to you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Today we're going to show you just how connected this really is, and how and why you're kind of here today, and the situation or the things they've done leading up to this point in time, which is I find very fascinating, and the fact that we're here today at this time as sentient beings with pure connections to source means that they have totally and utterly failed. So whatever they've been doing over hundreds of years, thousands of years, not hundreds and
Mhm.
thousands of years, but it probably has been. There's
It's
wars
still
going on,
awesome.
but
Yeah,
but certainly we're just going to look at a relatively close stuff that we can kind of prove. It just shows how strong we truly are, and we are the true power of this thing in this realm, and we are the true creators. And again, that again goes on so we can create anything we want because as once you understand this stuff, it then should hopefully empower you to the positive. So although what we might be talking about might you might think, oh my god, this is really dark. It's not. It's an education to understanding the light and where we truly are now today.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe we should start with this last reset. When I look back, this is our fifth reset. Every time humanity becomes Borg, we're in for another reset. And we hit that. I'm going to add this in so most people can realize this. We were here to witness a very important thing happening. With these going into us for the first time on this level, changing our DNA, our mRNA, we were to witness the beginning of the grace. We are in the echo of a reality in a never ending now, figure eight, and we were here to witness what has happened in the future, but in the echo of the beginning of the grace. Who are the grace? We are. And we've just watched how we became grace. We lived it. Okay, we'll start there. And then the next thing we should be talking about is what happened during that last reset. And Gary and I were talking about what if this was inserted for this scenario in the future for the event of this.
Yeah, yeah. So fundamentally, Sonia and I have spoken before about this, and what we've spoken about is the Infinity Eight in time. We did a time video together, probably 2, 3 months ago. I can't remember now,
Oh,
but
wow.
but but fundamentally, everything that has ever happened and everything that will happen, so everything in the past that has ever happened, everything in the future that could happen, has already happened. I know that's a big one, everyone, but this.
Mhm.
So when Sonia's talking about past and present, and that we're witnessing the beginning of the Greys again, in an echo of a Fibonacci, sorry, E infinity 8. All it
Mhm.
is loops in time coming back upon
Mhm.
themselves that we're
Mhm.
observing. But this time, we've actually broken that timeline. We've broken that figure 8.
Yes, we have. We created a paradox.
Yeah, yeah. And this paradox that we've been able to create fundamentally breaks the infinity 8 recycle program that we've been under for 6,000 years. So
Yes.
we were never meant to be trapped inside here, and people call it a prison planet. It's really not a prison planet, but we have certainly been stuck in here for a period of time because of the Fibonacci sequence that came in was so toxic to everywhere else, it had to be locked down. The malware came into the computer, and the computer had to be unplugged from the mainframe so that only that computer was um, infected.
Mhm.
Um, and so we have not been able to get back out again because of the infection issues. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, we live in a holographic programmed realm. And before
Mhm.
we started this conversation, the thing that really kind of started it was Sonia started talking to me about how she felt that we were programmed beings. Okay. So would you like to carry on with that conversation and then I'll bring in human design?
Yes. So when I look into this, we are in a simulated reality. Don't think that we are organic machines. Okay. Most people think, no, I'm real. Well, yeah, what is real? When you're experiencing what is real. I don't want to become Borg, no, where someone's actually running my avatar. But in a way, when we came in as energy beings, we are being run by an avatar. These avatars, every single person before this avatar that created the avatar before me, and it goes back, has programmed, I call it the ghost in the genes, the following avatars. And in it, it's like carrying, remember Harry Potter when he was dealing with destroying all the cruxes, which was one was a chalice, one was a little necklace, one was a crown, where Tom Riddle ended up putting all of pieces of him into these objects, and Harry Potter himself was the object where it reverted back and he became the cruxes. I look at our avatars as the cruxes of everything before us, to put it in layman's terms, okay? That everyone can relate to this Harry Potter. I don't know anyone who hasn't seen Harry Potter. So I call it the ghosts in the genes. It's like Tom Riddle, Voldemort, here inside of us from every single one that contribute to this avatar today. I don't know how else to make that any simpler. So not only is that influencing who we are today, but then when did you come in? So these avatars are also programmed with dates, birthdays, and it's Western and Eastern. And why they're so accurate is because it's program money. So this is why you can actually classify people. Okay, you're either personality A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, whatever, because of how these avatars are actually created in this simulated reality. So when you're being put into an avatar, you're not only taking on the ghost and the genes from everything before you, you're also taking on that set moment when you come in. To the minute you crest your mother's womb, boom, you've got these attributes inside of you. And it's our programming. Here's the thing, when we're in these avatars, the main thing we need to do is learn how to inwardly override all of the programming and reset Each avatar that we enter, because the moment we're in the now and we go into the avatar, everything is still connected. Remember, it's a cruxus. So we have to change everything inside of us. And then it goes and creates the paradox both ways. It corrects both ways. Everyone thinks we're in a linear time. And in this simulated reality, it's presented as a linear past, present, future, when in reality, everything is in the now. So if you're in the now and you change your avatar, which means you open those chakras, they fall off. They start to fall off because of this ascension. And you start changing your reality starts here. This is the reality changer. This is only a reflection of this change. Okay? You not only change you where you are, you change everything behind you and in front of you. And there's your paradox crasher.
Yeah, well put. Very well put. So there is something called human design. My friend Ben from Plutonic Planes has his channel, and he looked into human design and the gates and such like. Now, this is something I learned 18 months ago, 2 years ago, perhaps. And human design is our design, our personal inner design. Now, for those that have never seen it, I'm just going to share the screen quickly. Not that. Let me just escape from that. We don't want to see all that just yet. Sorry. Okay. Now, here we go. Human design. I'm sorry it's not the best it's not so easy to see, but in human design we have um centers. Okay? We have 9 centers. And within these 9 centers, this is called the head or the crown. This one here is the ajna. This is the throat. This is the G or the identity. This is the heart. This is the solar plexus. This is the sacral. This is the root. And this one is the spleen. It's similar to the chakras, but completely different at the same time. Now, I'm going to give you an example about having an open head or crown. Okay, up here. Now, what do I mean by an open head or crown? Well, what I mean is we have gates or numbers here, 64 being 1 to 64. And these numbers reflect a personality trait or type of personality that will become more apparent or more forceful depending on planetary alignment, astrology. Okay, we know that astrology or planets, not there are planets, but these energy frequencies affect us. So they're either direct and we've got this energy pumping at us, or they're in retrograde where the energy is less and it allows another planetary entity to put more energy into us. Well, this has effect on our centers and our gates if we have them. So everybody will still be affected by this energy. But what happens is if you have that particular gate and it and another gate which is being affected and you have a complete line, that means that this would then be solid and it's like a solid block of effectiveness where it's your center and it's a center that you actually have. If you don't have a pure connection like this one, so in this one this would be covered and this would be full because you've got a connection. But for me personally, I don't have any connection from my ajna to my head, and I've got an open head. Now, I know Sonia's got an open head as well, without even looking at her human design or anything like that. And the reason is that people with open heads tend to be or have the are the ones that have an easier connection to spiritual things. Okay, as a generalization. So an open head means that you're open to more information coming in from the matrix. A closed head means that although you will still get that, you're more likely to think things out more or be more mindful of something that isn't just like allowing something to flow in. Hopefully that makes sense. Um, so, for instance, an open head person will be more psychic. Sonia's very psychic. I'm quite psychic. I've got an open head. With an open head as well, though, we will often not know when somebody has finished talking or not, and we will often inappropriately butt in, or we will not understand that it's not our time, because what we can do is we can feel so much stuff coming into our heads, other people's energies, that it gets quite confusing when we should talk or not talk. Um, Another thing with the open head is because we're open headed and it's not closed, so we don't think and then respond. Sometimes we're very um, like, yeah, we just respond without thinking and then we think about it afterwards. So if I was moving house and I said to Sonia, "Oh, Sonia, I'm moving house tomorrow. Can you help me?" Sonia's initial reaction would always be yes, without thinking about it. And then Sonia would go, "Why on earth did I say yes? I don't want to do that." And that's exactly what an open head person would do. So they have abilities to more ability, or they're more open to having psychic experiences, but they're also more likely to put themselves into positions and do things that they never really wanted to do because they hadn't controlled or weren't aware of the trait of the open headness. So when you look at human design, you can understand the traits of your design, of what you're likely to be more. Stop sharing that. And what you're more likely to be open to or not open to.
Mhm.
This is a program, this is a design. So we have the design of the astrology, and everyone should be aware of astrology to the basic, you know, you can have your horoscopes read daily and it'll tell you what's likely to happen.
Mhm.
Internally, you have your own program. So when Sonia said, like, when you're born, you come out with dates and times, the programming from inside you is affected by the external time, linear time, that's created by the planetary systems and your internal clock. And this is how you are designed. This is your design, this is your program.
Mhm.
And how you react or do not react to certain stimuli is all programmed within every single one of us. We're all different but similar. There we go,
Mhm.
Sonia. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I'm going to have a lot of people say there's no such thing as planets. Of course, there's not. But that holographic sky above us is putting out a frequency. And your planet is that frequency. And it directly affects you because it's the playbook of how things will run down here. This is why there's always astrologers to all these bad guys and corporations because they know this.
Yeah. Yeah. So this knowledge has been known forever.
Mhm.
We have not known this knowledge because this knowledge has been taken from us and hidden and been used by the dumb elites or the deletes to control
Mhm.
us because they did a deal with the Fibonacci sequence, the darkness, the demonic. It's not dark,
Mhm.
but it's demonic. Dark and light are not good and bad. It's just light
Mhm.
waves. Um, so we have this inner program on how we act and react. Sonia said that we also have a memory of when we come in here, and I
Mhm.
call this DNA memory. So our parents, when they create the spark of life, and
Mhm.
we're produced, the information from the sperm and the egg mix, and we take DNA memory from our father and our mother, and it's put inside us. So this is another layer of the onion.
Mhm.
And when we're born, this DNA memory is within us, working alongside and sometimes overriding the human design, which is
Mhm.
working alongside and sometimes overriding the planetary that don't exist frequency coming in externally as well. Okay. So it really is a soup, a big soup of information.
Wow.
But the DNA memory is very, very important.
Mhm.
And part of the reason why they put us through trauma, because trauma will be passed on via the DNA from parent to child to parent again, and so on. Okay. Now, there was a really interesting experiment done with mice a few years ago. Can't remember who did it, but I can remember the experiment. And they had a pregnant mouse that they put into this maze, you know. So the mouse could go around and there's all these mazes and it's got a lovely warm bed, it's got loads of food and everything else, okay, within this maze. But on one of the corridors of the mazes, which was a dead end, they electrified the end wall. So it give the mouse a shock. So this pregnant mouse is searching round the maze, goes to the end of this particular passageway, touches its snout on the wall and gets an electric shock. The mouse is pregnant, remember. The
Mhm.
mouse then gives birth to her babies. Those babies grew up and explored the maze just like anybody else would. But what's very interesting is none of that mouse's babies ever went to the part of the maze where the mother got electrocuted.
Mhm.
They were born with DNA memory of
Mhm.
a trauma from that mouse that made those subsequent little baby mice avoid that
Mhm.
particular area.
Mhm.
This went on for 7 generations before they gave up the experiment. So, 7 generations later, those mice remembered or knew from their DNA memory, that
Mhm.
that part of that maze was unsafe.
Mhm.
They put us into world wars, they put us
Mhm.
into trauma. We get all that trauma. We then have generations of children where the trauma comes out later with psychological issues, and it's all done on purpose because they know that our DNA holds memory of trauma, and so they can pass it on to try and weaken us
Mhm.
in the physical.
Yep.
Sonia.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about if you think about going back through all the different scrimmages, you can call them scrimmages, wars, battles, what have you. It's always the good versus the evil. And it just comes down to this. And every time you stand up for something that's good and you are taken down, especially in this day and age, I'm standing up for our rights and you're slapped in prison. I'm standing up for my right to breathe air, to have fresh water, to not take any kind of shot in the arm, and you're thrown in prison or you're fined or everything is stripped from you. You lose your job if you don't do something. This is all going into the ghosts in our genes. And the program being is if you do everything that's right, you'll be punished. If you do the worst of the worst, which is why you see criminals being taken and nothing happens to them, you see rapists doing what they can and nothing happens to them, it's being rewarded. So to put it into your day to day, good is bad and bad is good is what they're training the ghost and the genes right now to have an upside down world.
Yeah,
There it is.
yeah. And that goes against our programming internally that causes conflict. And this is how they get us to externalize our power into giving our power away to a third party.
Mhm.
Now, for me, um, all the third parties that want to take our power are fundamentally Fibonacci based. So
Hmm.
religion is Fibonacci based, you
Hmm.
know, um, and religion kind of runs the world. But it's very interesting that money is also Fibonacci based and can be seen with the booms and the bust.
Hmm.
You can work it out via Fibonacci sequences because that's how they work. This is how the dumb elites, how the Zionist controllers almost control
Hmm.
us because they follow their religious programming via the Fibonacci number sequences, via the
Hmm.
planetary energies, and
Hmm.
understanding our human design.
Then the other thing is, why do we have a three-tier system of control? You're comprised of what? Your brain, your heart brain, and your gut brain. Let's place these tiers where they belong. I need a tier system control your brain. It's going to be the City of London. It's financial. I need a control system to control your heart. It's going to be the Vatican. It controls your heart. I need a system to control your gut brain, and that's going to be war. It's the fight or flight. Everything is connected in this reality with your avatar of control system.
Yeah, yeah, superbly put. And this is the Holy Trinity that they talk about.
Mhm.
You are, you beautiful audience out there, you are the Holy Trinity. You have the Holy Trinity within you. It's not
Mhm.
outside of you, it
Mhm.
is inside you. You are an all-powerful being.
Mhm.
We have no idea how powerful we truly are just yet, but we're
Mhm.
going to get there. And this is the point of time in which we're getting there, and we're about to go over the precipice into this self-empowerment, true self-empowerment. Now, this is what the dumb elites have been aware of for a very, very long time. Very
Mhm.
long time. So, if we start to go back in history to resets, when we start looking at these resets are designed to control us and affect the source players. Okay. Now, I'm sure everybody's heard of NPCs. Okay, I don't particularly like the term, but it's now become generic and everybody understands it.
Wow.
NPCs are non-player characters. Fundamentally, humans without the source connection, the pure, clean source connection. We then have main player characters, which would be myself, Sonia, and to be fair, the audience watching us, wouldn't they, Sonia?
Oh,
I mean,
yes, absolutely, or you wouldn't be here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and we're main player characters. We're source connected players. Now, what they've been trying to do from reset to reset to reset, Sonia talked about seven, wasn't it? You said, Sonia?
This is our fifth reset.
Oh,
Our fifth
sorry. Yeah,
reset.
yeah.
Hmm.
Every reset they have tried, or the program has tried, to escape by turning people into a Borg system, part computer, part humanoid. And that is against the laws of every kind of realm and system in this place. There
Hmm.
are laws. There's overriding
Rules.
laws.
Yep, there's rules to these things. Every time we end up as half AI, we're in for a reset. We just witnessed this half AI in 2020, 2021, depending on where in the snow globe. Remember, China got theirs long before the United States got theirs or others got theirs. So 2020, with your 2020 vision, and 2021. And the reset began.
Yeah, yeah. So when we start looking at this reset and trying to understand the reset and why they had to go to the next level of these things, which are gene editing, okay, and we're not going to go any further on that one, but we know they are. They change the body to allow certain other things to come in, okay. I have a very, very interesting connection that I believe is correct. And I did get Sonia to remote view this for me just before we started, just to confirm that I was right. And I did feel I was. Now, we've had multiple resets in our recent history. The last reset we had was in 1774, and most of the population of the world was wiped out. A large
Mhm.
percentage was wiped out. Okay. Now, 1774 date goes to Jason of Archaics and his Chronicon. If you want to look that up, that's fine. It's a very good basis to understand things and to hang your hat on a linear time scale. Okay,
Mhm.
did it really happen then? I have no clue, and nobody does. But what we do have is anecdotal evidence of this. Now, in Norfolk, there's two stately homes, National Trust. One is Felbrigg and one is Blickling Hall. It's very interesting that both buildings, high status buildings, were re-renovated or had huge amounts of works done in the 1770s. Why would that be? We
Mhm.
have a date of a reset where lots of buildings would have been destroyed or broken and people died. And we have high status buildings suddenly all being renovated around the same period.
Mhm.
That's very interesting.
And not
Okay.
just there, all over the snow globe, because we can look in America in Washington, D.C., and they were digging out the entire epicenter in D.C. It wasn't just a single building. And they have old photos of this that you can find.
Yeah. And because obviously the digging out of this took a long time because with most of the population was taken out, it wasn't like they had people to dig the stuff out straight away. They put people or people gathered together in small areas that were dug out,
Mhm.
and the rest of the United States was left.
Mhm.
Same with Russia, same with in England. Okay, were left unpopulated and undug out. The houses were still there, just empty. Okay,
Mhm.
it's all sat there, you know. And when we look at even take Napoleon when he was going across Russia, when he got to St. Petersburg, a big city in Russia, it was empty. And it's
Mhm.
actually written in his chronicles that the place was empty. They didn't go in there and shoot and have a war. They
Mhm.
walked into an empty city,
Mhm.
completely empty.
Mhm.
And this is how we have the British Empire taking over fundamentally a lot of the world. And obviously, by British Empire, I'm talking about the Zionists here. I
Yeah.
did a show just recently about the UK has no money.
Mhm.
I go into the history that of the City of London and how it was created and the effect it's had across the world. Really interesting bit of history, that one. Not going to go into that anymore. But what we have is we have a takeover of the world via England in 1649 via
Mhm.
Oliver Cromwell, and that then leads to where we are today fundamentally. Now, where we are today is that we have had all these resets, and when these resets happened, the people with the money and the ability, because they were in charge and had put themselves in charge, were able to try and take over and affect the rest of the world. Now,
Mhm.
before the 1776 Declaration of Independence, that was during part of a war, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And it was a war against the British, wasn't it?
It was the East Indian Company.
Correct. Which is also part of the Dutch East India Company, which is also the Committee of 300 today.
Mhm.
Now, why would Blighty, sorry, not, I call Britain Blighty sometimes because they are blight on everything, quite literally. Um, why would the parasitic British want to go all the way over to America at that precise time
Mhm.
and engage in a war to take over America? What would trigger that kind of event? Oh, perhaps America had suffered a great big wipeout of its population.
Did
There
go.
weren't many Americans left, and it was the ideal opportunity for the Zionists from England or Great Britain to come over and take over.
Hmm. There it is. Get them, kick them while they're down. Get them while they're down when they can't even get up because they've been devastated.
Yeah, yeah. And these kind of resets, it looks like we had a lot. So if you take 1774 and take 138 years off, I think we had another event then, which was 16. My maths is terrible, but 16 something. And that's when I think California, which was an island, joined America. So
Yep.
we have a lot of stuff going on over this like 1400s, 1500s, 1600s, 1700 period. There's a lot of bits and pieces going on which has affected populations, and we have a population crash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, this takes us into the Tartarian stuff where
Mm-hmm.
we have um, buildings and systems set up
It's
that
free
have
energy, no doubt.
free energy, free wireless energy. Now,
But
I can actually go back from my research to the 900 AD, if not before that, with the flint buildings in United Kingdom.
mhm.
Now, I had an epiphany a while ago with the help of my partner, the Wizard of Oz, Mel. We were on holiday in an area that has no flint, and this area had flint churches, no other buildings, just flint churches and flint church towers. And they were specifically designed and would have certain bricks in or certain courses of different materials between the flint layers. And we didn't understand why.
Hmm.
And Mel said to me, "It's the flint, Gary. It's the flint. I don't know why. I've just got a message from source. It's the flint." And I went, "Okay, I'll look into flint." Well, it turns out flint is high in something called silica.
Mhm.
And silica is what they use for today for solar panels,
Mhm.
semiconductor chips, and um, capacitors, resistors, all that sort of stuff, all has silica in it.
Mhm.
And a resistor, which a resistor fundamentally controls the frequency of something, has
Mhm.
a metal layer, it has a silica layer and a metal layer, and depending on how many layers means it will affect the flow of electricity or frequency through that board.
Mhm.
We live in a matrix, we live in an electromagnetic realm.
Mhm.
Churches were always power stations fundamentally of
Mhm.
healing frequency as well as free electricity. But you can't just build any old church anywhere in the same design because the realm or the ground or the earth, due to the ley lines, has different frequencies and power amounts it produces. So when you see a church tower, this is actually a capacitor,
Mhm.
and it controls the amount of power coming down into the main church via the design of the tower, how many layers it's got between the flint often,
Mhm.
to how the power is then produced that is perfectly in harmony for the people that and the animals and plants that lived in that area. Sonia, so
Mhm.
have you got anything to add to that, what I've just added?
It's not just the buildings. When I had gone to Tréport, which is in France, they have the White Cliffs. And on the other side, they have the White Cliffs across the ocean. And I noticed, and I made a comment about it. Why are these black stones uniformly put in? Here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one, millions of them, and then another layer, and then another layer with layers in between. And I realized that the cliffs at one time were buildings. You not know that, but the whole cliffs were buildings. That's why they just jag off like this. and that it was all free energy because the flint is the black stone. And it's here's one, and it's in a perfect line, spaced perfectly, and it's the entire cliff system on both sides.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very interesting that geologically, hey, oh my God, I nearly got I put my teeth back in. In geological terms, everything is created, that the scientists can come up with a story about everything being created. Oh, that was created because of earthquakes and the pressure and all this kind of, and it's sat there for a million years, and this is why this happens and that, right? Most of it's complete horseshit, by the way. Don't believe a word of it. They do not know how flint is created.
Hmm.
They have no idea how flint is created. And yet, on how many beaches do we have flint beaches,
Everywhere,
flintstones, right, everywhere?
everywhere.
The sea is salty, so has a
Mhm,
charge via the salt that goes
mhm.
over and on and top of the flint,
Yep.
which creates a charge, which creates an
Mhm,
energy thing on the
mhm,
cliffs of Dover and in France with
mhm,
the correct layers of flint. It then creates an electrostatic magnetic system that
mhm,
allows animals, plants, trees to get the
mhm,
electro. I can't think of quite the right word, but it's like an electrokinesis, and I don't think that is the quite right word, but it's that electro energy, the electrical charge to enable us to go and live. This is all part of the crystalline code, the creational
mhm.
energy of Gaia,
Yep.
of where we are, the base programming that we're talking about.
Yep. Those negative ions that are being produced from the ocean are directly because of the flint and the salt water. And that's why the oceans are a big no-no when you're going to do something like this, because your skin is porous. And that's why we have little patches that work on our skin for medicine. You go into the ocean, it's got the 12 essential salts in there. And you factor in the flint that's everywhere with the ocean currents going over it, creating the negative ions. And you know what that would do? That would short circuit a foreign system inside of this body. And your body would be able to detox it with no problem at all. You're taking in the essential 12 salts anyway, just by being in the water. And I had just recently discovered this last year. I had gone down to the ocean in the Mediterranean, and I was a bit thirsty, but the longer I stayed in the water, my bladder started filling up. 3 times my bladder filled up, and not a drop of water went in my mouth. I was just swimming in the ocean, which means that your body is naturally taking in the ocean water, what it needs, keeps everything else out at bay, and healing you. And this is what they didn't want. So when they're like, don't drink seawater, no, you don't have to physically drink it, just be in it. You'll never be thirsty. You'll never ever be thirsty, because you know what? I was never thirsty. We were at the beach for like 6 hours. Never drank anything. Went there, I was already thirsty, forgot to bring a drink with me, went in the water, and my bladder filled up. And yes, I peed in the water 3 times because I couldn't hold it anymore.
But
And Arthur had the same thing. He's like, oh my gosh, my bladder's full. It's full. I'm not thirsty. It's full. Just from being in the water for hours, because we were literally in the water for hours.
yeah, and if we're unwell or we need a relaxing bath, we'll often put Epsom salts
Yep.
and pink Himalayan salt in the
That's
bath,
right. Mm-hmm.
run a hot bath, and you have a soak, and you
Mm-hmm.
absorb all the minerals because your skin
Mm-hmm.
is actually an organ, and it's the biggest organ
Yes, it is.
that you have,
That's right.
and it absorbs all sorts of things. Um, and unfortunately, it absorbs all sorts of chemicals as well, which the
Yes,
dumb
it
elites
does.
obviously understand. And this is also another reason why they pollute the sea and they pollute the water courses,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want us in or swimming in the water
Mm-hmm.
because it's so good for us, particularly
Mm-hmm.
the ocean.
Absolutely. When these bodies were designed in perfection to begin with, and then we literally got taken down into a carbon base because we were more crystalline. Um, this is where we were vulnerable. And this is why we're vulnerable. We are going in our ascension to back, it's like a rubber band being stretched because we've been chimered. Boom. And we're going to end up going back into what we were. So the carbon base of us is going to be left behind. When our mitochondria turns on and stays on, it's done.
Yeah,
Boom.
yeah.
But going back to the bodies, we should talk about when we had lost that amount of human beings and what they had done to us. Let's go back to where we started. We
Well,
lost all these humans. So
yeah.
what do you think the next course would be?
Well, I'm aware of the time, and we've been about 50 minutes. So, shall we make this a part two? And
Yeah,
how about we start part two with the where did all the new humans come from, orphan trains, potentially how as it was known as Cabbage Patch Kids and all that sort of stuff. Shall we look at that and then move forward into where we are today? Shall we do a
yes,
part two? Because
yes, we're going to do a part two. We'll
okay then.
haven't even got to the doppelgangers
No,
because
we
we're
haven't.
going.
So with that, everybody, we'll say goodbye and please catch up with us on part two, which will be coming in a few days' time or next week, whenever, okay? But we're going to record it back to back. So while we've got our thread going and we're really on it, we're then going to go into some really interesting stuff. So,
Yes,
Sonia,
we will. Okay, everybody, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on part two.
bye everyone.
Bye.